Hello everybody! It's been 4 months since the release of the last devlog, so I fully understand that you have already waited for news about the development of the game, and today I have a lot for you. Be sure to watch the video to the end, because there will be information about the release and about the demo of the game. Today, the format of the devlog will be slightly different from all the previous ones. If earlier I recorded each feature separately and then connected them into one video, today I'll show you everything as you'll see it when you play game yourself. The whole video will be recorded in one piece. I think it will be more interesting and understandable for you. So let's start with the main menu. I reduced the size of the buttons a little, cause they seem too big to me, but it's not really important. The most interesting thing here is the implementation of Steam Workshop support. Now, when starting a new career, you can choose which modes among the ones you subscribe to will be applied when you create a game session. For the test, I created several mods that replace heroes and team logos. The release version will also feature sponsors, tournaments, players and staff mods. These mods are purely visual and won't change player attributes or team budgets. At the release of the game, there will only be mods from me in Workshop, but within a month after the release, I will add the ability to upload your own mods for you. So on release, you will be able to play with the real teams, real tournaments and real players. When you get to the game screen, you can immediately notice big changes. I'm talking about the main menu. The menu logic has been slightly updated and should now be more intuitive. The menu is now divided into two parts. The upper part is a solid one, there are items related to the season, tournaments, transfer market, etc. The second part consists entirely of pages for managing your team, if you have a contract with the team, of course. In fact, there are more and more pages, and soon the menu items will not fit on the screen and we will have to think about what to do with it. But we will deal with the problems gradually. The next big update is the new simulation panel. Each day now displays the different activities that are happening that day. These are the beginning and the end of tournaments, the end of player and staff contracts, team trainings, etc. Now it becomes much easier to navigate in time during the simulation and stop the simulation at the right moment. The update applies not only to the visuals, but also to the logic of the simulation itself. I moved all the math that happening during the simulation to the background thread, so these calculations shouldn't affect the performance of the game. I added a bit of optimization, especially this will affect when there are more than 1,000 players and staff in the game. In addition, I continue to add quality of life updates to make the game more enjoyable for players. The game now has action confirmation windows to protect you from wrong actions. But if you, like me, are bothered by such windows, then you can choose Don't Show Again option. For more flexible customization, I added a page with the settings for these windows. Confirmations are broken down into categories, so you can enable and disable windows for more or less important categories separately. You can also configure the intervals of incoming messages here. Periodically you will receive messages about when the contracts of your players and staff expire, invitations to player training matches from other teams, as well as news from various tournaments. Here you can adjust this frequency or turn off a separate type of messages altogether. A matchday page has been added for convenient tracking of tournaments. This page displays upcoming tournament matches as well as your team's matches. The only thing that is not shown here are the matches of open qualifiers, because there are too many of them. But to make it clear that the matches of these qualifiers are played on this day, there is a separate panel of tournaments that have matches on the selected day. This page is not only informative but also functional. Here you can choose which matches of other teams you want to watch. Viewing matches of other teams is possible only live, so you can watch only one match that takes place at the selected time. Before the start of the match, you will automatically be redirected to this page, from which you will be redirected to the tactics page, where you will confirm the lineup of players who will play, after which you will be redirected to the match simulation screen. Right now the screen is not quite ready for demonstration, so a placeholder is now in its place. I will show the simulation process itself in the next devlog. A transfer market page was also added to the game. It is basically just an opportunity to conveniently search for players and stuff based on the given parameters. The player page has also been completely updated. Firstly, the values of the player's skills are now in the range from 1 to 20. This is not because I'm just copying Football Manager, but because when the values are in the range from 1 to 99, it is very difficult for the brain to perceive and compare such values. A scale of 1 to 10 is too small, so a scale of 1 to 20 was chosen. Secondly, now the player has not only the main position, but also the roles relative to the position. Stars indicate the level of understanding of the respective role. The role rating is earned through training as well as through matches played in that role. That is, the role rating can be earned, but the player's innate positions is not. It is determined during the generation stage and always remains the same. This doesn't mean that you can't use player in another position, but it does mean that he will perform best in his natural position. For each role, the skills important to it are highlighted. Orange the most important, gray secondary. You may have also noticed that the skill values are now displayed as approx. This is due to the fact that we have no knowledge about this player. To know its real performance, we need to get a report from an analyst. The report is prepared over a period of time and it depends on the analyst's skills. But when the report is ready, we will see all the information about the player, including his transfer value and desired salary. In order to be able to receive analytical reports, you of course must have an analyst in your team. But if there is none, your manager will work on the report. But such a report will be prepared very slowly, so it's better to have an analyst in your team. The staff page will display the current task of your workers, and there you will be able to track the progress of the report. Currently it's not there, but as the time progresses you will see more and more accurate values. When the report is completely ready, you will receive a message in your inbox. As you can see, the player is now fully explored and we can see his skills, his real transfer value, as well as his desired wage. We also see that the player has played several official matches and now we can see his statistics. Also, now we can buy players as well as stuff. The negotiation window has been slightly updated for convenience, but the logic remains the same. Also, we can now negotiate with our player about resigning the contract on other terms. Depending on the extension and conditions of the current contract, the player will agree or refuse to resign. If we no longer need a player in the team, we can release him by paying compensation. Compensation is calculated at the entire unpaid salary. That is, if there are still 6 months to the end of the contract, then the compensation will be equal to 6 salaries. It can be profitable to release a player if you no longer need him and he has some significant bonuses that you will have to pay if the player stays. All this applies not only to the players but also to the staff. There the logic is the same. Speaking of stuff, the worker page has also been updated. The visual of the skills was brought to a common style with the player skills. Unlike players, you don't need to get a report on a worker to see his skills and desired salary, otherwise it would be very difficult to play. The finances page has also been completely updated. In addition to visual updates to the charts, a lot of new functionality has been added. Now you can display transactions by category, and not only income and expenses, but also specific lines of transactions. Also, the representation of the diagrams was changed to a more beautiful and animated one. Here I have to thank the sponsors on Patreon, because thanks to them I was able to buy a plugin that allows you to do things like this. A financial obligations page has also been added. It shows the income and expenses of transfers as well as salary expenses. In this way, you can control how much your budget will decrease this year and the following years. And based on this, you will have an understanding of whether you can afford to buy another player or not. On the main page of finances, you can see the amount of obligations and by what year they will be paid. Now, let's move to the season updates. You probably already know that in real life there are no more DPC seasons and no more leagues and majors. But here in the game, I won't remove this system, because firstly I like it, secondly I can't waste time on it now. So both the leagues and the majors remain in the game. The qualification format for the first league of the season has been updated. Previously, 8 teams were directly invited to the upper division and 8 teams came to the lower division from open qualifications. In real life, however, all slots for the first league were played in open qualifiers. That's why I wanted to make the format more realistic for a long time. And so I did it. The selection now begins with an open qualification for 1024 teams. 16 winners qualify for the closed qualifier. In the closed qualification, the teams are divided into 4 GSL groups of 4 teams, and thus we will be able to sort the teams by their strengths. The first 2 places of each group fall into the top division of the league, the last 2 into the bottom. This format only applies to the first league of the season. The second and third have the same format as before. Since in the open qualifier the matches start from round of 124, and the quali page only shows matches from round of 64, the tournament matches page was added so you could see who played with whom. This page displays all matches of all stages of the tournament. The rules for the team roster registration were also updated. Previously, the region of performance was formed by the nationalities of the players, and the team played in the region where 3 or more players live. But in real life, there are no rules at all. For example, Bait played in North America when their roster was international. So I decided, or rather I held a vote for sponsors and they decided, that it would be better to make it possible to choose the region of performances. So now, when registering the team, you can choose the region in which you want to perform. It should be noted that roster registration only affects ranked tournaments. You can play with anybody in non-ranked tournaments. So, staying in the region is not free if at least 3 players don't live in the selected region. The cost of staying depends on the region itself, as well as on the tier of your team. The higher the tier, the more you have to pay. And if you register a team for the second or third subseason, then when you change the region of performances, you will be disqualified from your regional league and you will have to go through open qualifications to the lower division of the league in your region. Also, for each change in the lineup, you will lose 20% of number of earned points. At the beginning of each subseason, you will receive information about teams that have changed regions, if any. The roster changes page has been added for easy tracking of team changes. Here are displayed the registered rosters in each of the seasons, as well as incoming and outgoing transfers of players in the team. And finally, a new feature has appeared, the ability to release yourself. Of course, immediately after dismissal, you lose access to all pages related to team management. Currently, the dismissal is silent, but in the future you will be receiving a message with your statistics with this team. Well, at the very end, I left information about the release of the game. The previous deadline was the end of November, but as you can see, the deadline has passed. Actually, it's not so much my fault this time. The fact is that in February, a festival of demo versions of unreleased games will start on Steam. The next such festival will only be in the summer, so for marketing reasons, it would be important to take part in it. According to the rules, only games that will be released after the festival can participate. The festival will be held from February 5th to 12th. I've already registered eSports Manager, so the date plan is as follows. 2 weeks before the festival, Immortal Tier Patreon bakers will get early access to the demo. On February 5th, the game demo will be publicly available on Steam, and on February 13th, the demo will be removed from public access, but will remain with sponsors. The release of the full version depends on how the demo will perform in terms of game stability. If there are only few or none game-breaking bugs, then the release will be at the end of February. if there are serious problems with stability, then the release will have to be postponed to March. So the release is close, and this time it's for real. By the way, the next devlog will be in exactly 1 month, and it will also have many features that I will tell you about. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and Discord server and support the game on the Patreon so you don't miss important news. See you soon!